I was going to wait because I know that people...
Where are you and Sam going to be standing when you sing?
I'm just going to move the bench out and he's going to sit here. Okay. Should we get started?
Can we announce for everybody to turn their phone, silence
Yeah.
their phone, and should I have me out brochures?
All right. Hello, everybody. Just briefly, did everyone get a brochure? Cool. If you didn't, I can get you one. It just has the lyrics in it and a little bit of background information if you like that. You want? Okay.
I do have a question.
Oh, yes.
There's a Greek phrase on the bottom of the Bible.
Some translate it to... Oh, thank you. It's commonly translated as singing muse, and it's an indication of the muse that begins most epics. Okay.
I don't have a pamphlet. Somebody took mine that you gave me. Can I go get another stack?
Okay, I see just a few more people coming in, so. Well, thank you all for being here. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come here and listen to me. This is just a presentation of my thesis known as EPOS, and that is a word in ancient Greek that means song, story, promise, and epic. And this is a representation of that. And basically this is just me working through the Iliad and turning it into a musical. And this is a musical concept album, so I don't want it to be confused with like something that you guys might know as being on Broadway. This is just essentially like a singer-songwriter take on what that might be. So this album has 7 tracks that I'm going to sing through for you. And I'll just sort of walk you through my choices and the decisions that I made as an artist to get to where we are now. So if you look in your programs, it does have all the lyrics for the songs if you'd like to get sort of a visual of what I'm saying and singing. And I'm just going to walk you through song by song how I got to this place at the finish line. So this is the first song called Fight For Me, and it's sort of an opener to the idea of the Iliad because there are so many, it's such a grand, it's an epic. So there's a lot of characters and there's a lot of plot lines and there's a lot of things at stake here. So this song is just representative of every individual figure in the Iliad, and it just opens your eyes to the perspective that everyone is fighting for something. So I want to know what everyone is fighting for. Hello? Okay. Is that too quiet? Can you hear me? Yes. Oh, sweet. All right, I'm gonna start over. That was a test. You passed.
Take 2.
I can see it far off now, just in For those of you who are just coming in, that was the first song in my 7-track album based off of the Iliad, and you should know that if you're here, but gotta cover all my bases. And that song was in a style very different from the rest of the songs on the album because I wrote it on guitar instead of on piano like the rest of them, which does give it a different feel. I wanted it to feel like something that would be sung by a contemporary singer-songwriter rather than something that you might hear on like a Broadway concept album. Because really, that song is not from the perspective of any one character. I wanted to play into the role that I fill as like the bard, so to speak, because the Iliad would have been performed as a live performance. And a lot of my studies with my thesis have been about how the role of the person who's telling the story, what makes up that person has an influence on how the story is told. So that is why I wrote that song in a more contemporary style. Now the second song is called Put Down the Bow, and I struggled with this song for a long time because it's a song between Hector and Paris. If you don't know, they're brothers, and Paris is related to the cause of the Trojan War. And Hector is this very like big, macho, like get it done guy. He's like the perfect dude. Essentially, he fills all his roles, he does what he has to do. And in ancient Greece, fighting in hand-to-hand combat, like being down on the battlefield, was considered a lot more honorable than using something like a bow to fight from afar. And that is Paris's weapon of choice. So he uses a bow to fight, to like take down and pick out people from where he can't be touched. And that's really the idea of this song, is that Hector wants Paris to fight in a noble, honorable way, and Paris is perfectly comfortable shooting from his shelter. And but it ends up being quite unfortunately ironic because Hector does die in the end, and if he would have taken Paris's advice, maybe he wouldn't have. Mission determined for me, then you fall again. down, oh brother, but I hope that you discover there's merit to the things I've come to know. It might do you well to get a blow. Thank you. So yeah, that was that song, and I think that song is very upbeat, and it's got kind of like a very different style than a lot of the songs in Iliad, because the Iliad has its moments of triumph and of tragedy, but I think with the themes that I'm specifically trying to bring out for this piece or this work, it's a rarity to find like a very happy song. So even though they're judging each other, it does have a more upbeat style. All right, this next song is called Reasons to Stay. It's the third track on this album, and it has a very special place in my heart because it is the first song that I wrote from this musical. I wrote it almost a year ago, and wow, to this day. And it's a very tender song between Hector and his wife Andromache, and there's a brief interlude in book 6 where Hector's been, like down, fighting and doing stuff because he's awesome and like the perfect dude. But then there is a moment where he goes back into the city and he has this moment with his wife and his newborn child, or I don't know, is he a toddler? He's a pretty young child. And Andromache is so desperate for him not to go because everyone knows basically that if Hector goes, he's done. But Hector sees him going and sacrificing himself for honor, in the case that does happen, as a sacrifice for his family because it maintains their reputation and it's the honorable thing to do. And Andromache sort of has this moment in the song where she's like, I don't care about honor, like I want you alive. And it's really powerful. So for this song, I have my very good friend Sam Garcia who's going to come and be with me and sing the part of Hector, so my Andromache, and we hope you enjoy.
Yes.
Hello, can you hear me? Sweet. Why are you laughing? I see it's pulling you under. Sure. Okay, so this next song is, it's a song that features Helen, who most of you probably know. If you know very little of the Iliad, you've probably heard the phrase Helen of Troy, when people saying like a woman is like the face that launched 1,000 ships. So that's this lady. But one of the big projects one of the big things that was really important to me when I undertook this was that Helen is given more of a voice. Because I noticed, I think a lot of people notice that she's not very well represented. She does speak, but it's always in relation to a man, like she's never given her own moment. And people love to talk so much about her, but they never really give her a chance to talk about her own experiences. And she's blamed for the entire war most of the times, which she was just a woman that was swept into the whole thing. And I think it really says a lot about gender and conceptions of womanhood at the time. But this song is called More Than a Pretty Face, and I wrote it musically in a very interesting style. It's interesting in that it's simple. I used pretty much the most simple chords that a person could use, and the lyrics are very simple as well. And I wanted it to appear almost like infantile, because I think that could be for a number of reasons. It could either be because that's how she feels when she finally gets the moment to speak up, or it could be how she's been learned to adapt herself based off of the structures that she's living in. And I wanna call out one textual reference before I start this. So there's a very controversial and infamous moment in book 6 where Helen's talking to Hector, her brother-in-law, and she says, "My dear brother, dear to me." Sorry, I forgot there's children in the audience. You can just look in your, you can look in your programs. I do say this word in the song. I'm very sorry in advance. But it's kind of a harsh moment of self-reflection where Helen, why would she talk about herself like that unless she's trying to appeal to men? So that's basically, this song is to give Helen a voice. And it's more than a pretty face. Brushing my hair till it shines. Beauty is painful, but all women know that's how you survive. Thank you very much. All right, so this next track is my very favorite. I think I love it so much because it's so difficult to write. This song alone took me like upwards of 3 weeks. It's the song where Achilles in book 18 learns that Patroclus has died, and it is his best friend. Patroclus is assumed by some to be his lover. The point is they have an incredibly powerful bond, and for those of you who don't know, essentially Achilles, at the very beginning of the Iliad, gets into a dispute with Agamemnon and the leader of his army, and he says that until he gets credit for the work that he's done on behalf of the army, he will not fight. And so he spends quite a large part of the Iliad not fighting for someone who is such a famed warrior. And there comes a point where his army is losing pretty badly, or they need encouragement. And Patroclus, Achilles' best friend, asks if he can don Achilles' armor and go out into the battlefield that way. His army will be like, oh my gosh, Achilles is back, let's go kick butt. And the people on the other end of the battlefield will be scared to death because Achilles is back. And so Patroclus comes up with a scheme, and he takes the armor and he goes out, but he is killed wearing Achilles' armor. And so that news breaks to Achilles that his most beloved friend dies basically because he couldn't own up to his own childish need for validation. And it's a beautiful, moving passage, but it is very difficult to read because it's so graphic and well described. Here is just a quote that really aided me in sort of searching for the words. In book 18, it writes, "A black cloud of grief came shrouding over Achilles. Both hands clawing the ground for soot and filth, he poured it over his head. Overpowered in all his power, sprawled in the dust, Achilles lay there fallen." So yeah, this it took quite a while to get into the head of Achilles, but I hope that this does it for you in the way it does for me. And this song is called "Beginning of the End" also. Do not say that. There comes a time at the end of the road when blaming everyone does nothing anymore. Let the fires burn around me as I fall to my feet. If death is taking you, I know the time has come for me. states that is the moment where it is the beginning of the end. Because from that moment, not only, like you heard in the song, is Achilles grieving through the knowledge of his friend's death, that sort of is what the beginning of the song represents. He sits in it for a minute, he's in the dirt, he's like the translation that I read wrote, he's overpowered in all his power. But then he moves forward through the song with a motivation, because all of a sudden he has regained the thing. He lost sight of what he was fighting for, and in that moment he remembers. And it's tragic because he remembers too late, but that is the motivation that he needs to push him past his pride and into the finish line. And so from that moment he says, there's a life to repay. And that's when he goes after Hector for killing Patroclus. And so, this next track is track 6, and it takes place in book 22 of the Iliad. So the end is already well underway. And book 22, almost the entirety of it is depicting basically the final showdown between Achilles and Hector. And there's a moment where as Hector's walking up to the battle, he's going over, he's like, maybe we should just be friends and call it a day, and none of us have to die. And then there's a moment where he's like, okay, obviously I cannot do that. And then he goes to meet Achilles head on, and they're sort of walking towards each other in this big grand moment. And then Hector has this moment of fear where he snaps out of it. He's like, whoa, I gotta go. And so he just runs. And then half of book 22 is Achilles just chasing Hector around the city gates. And it's terrible because Hector's like this big, awesome fighter, and in the moment where it matters most, he's struck with fear. And then they obviously eventually come face to face, and Achilles kills Hector. And this is the song where that happens. And yes, this is the quote that I'd like to read, coming from book 22. Then Father Zeus held out his sacred golden scales. In them he placed 2 fates of death that lays men low, one for Achilles and one for Hector, breaker of horses. And gripping a beam mid-shaft, the father raised it high and went down, and down went Hector's day of doom. This song is called After All This Time. And so the final show, I must walk this road alone. Somehow I knew the end would look like this. Walking to my grave, my choice has already been made. With every step, I hear his echo in my mind. Maybe in another life we'd be friends, you and I, but not tonight. After all this the sails have been raised, now who the gods decide to save is left unknown, but soon shall be revealed. Running for my life, death is such a sacrifice. It is not truly worth the cost to stand and fight. Maybe in another life we'd be friends, you and I, but not tonight. Stop, it is enough. Now face to face, I call your bluff. I think that you are just as tired as I am. Perhaps we the scales fall. Promise me my rights, the victor ends the fight. After all this time. Thank you. All right, so now I've walked you through it. At the very end of that song, Achilles kills Hector with a spear. Very manly and hand-to-hand combat. And it's honestly tragic because Hector's got his entire family watching and waiting upon his safe return when truly nobody expected him to come out of that battle alive. And then in Achilles' grief, he does something unspeakable, and that is he does not give the body of Hector back to his family as he requested, which is at the end of the song. Hector says, "Promise me my rights," not right as in R-I-G, right as in like my burial rights, because that was very important. Very important doesn't even cut it. Like, it is the fundamental thing that you can give someone on the very basis of human respect. And Achilles does not do that. And instead he parades Hector's body, hanging off the back of a chariot and drags it around the gates of the city. And this goes on for many days, and eventually King Priam, Hector's father, makes the very dangerous and ill-advised journey to Achilles' camp to basically beg him for the body of his son back. So he has to look into the eyes and beseech the man who murdered his son and many of his sons and the men of Troy. And it's an incredible moment of humility for both Achilles and Priam, because as you'll see, Achilles does grant the request of Priam, and they come to sort of a mutual understanding just on the basis of everything that they have together lost. And it's one of the greatest moments in literature, I think. And it brings home the idea of the Iliad, because at the end of the day, everyone is fighting for something, and that is sort of the understanding that Priam and Achilles come to, because they understand that everything they've done has been motivated in love. And I'm going to read two quotes. This song was very difficult for me to write as well, because you not only have to bubble down their entire conversation, which is like I said, monumental, but also you have to wrap up the entire story. And I think it does that very well, but there is a lot at stake in this song. And it's just a really quiet, beautiful moment. So here are two quotes from book 24, the final book of the Iliad. The majestic king of Troy slipped past the rest, and kneeling down beside Achilles, clasped his knees and kissed his hands, those terrible man-killing hands. And second, those words stirred within Achilles a deep desire to grieve for his own father. Taking the old man's hand, he gently moved him back, and overpowered by memory, both men gave way to grief. This song is called Nobody Wins in the End. Kingdoms to keep him safe. Thank you so much all for coming. I hope that if there is anything that you take from this, it's that we should give credit where credit is due to these ancient stories. And they're more than something that live on a dusty bookshelf, and they're more than tales of men all like greased up and like fighting with spears. And I wrote this as a challenge to myself because I wasn't actually a huge fan of the Iliad before this, because I thought it was just all about dudes fighting for dude stuff, and I felt like as a young woman with very little interest in war, I would not get anything out of this. But there's a lot to be taken in a modern context as well, because at the end of the day, people will always love people, and people will always do whatever it takes to fight for them. So I'm gonna grab this little pamphlet over here. There's a quote that I put at the beginning of my thesis that I'd like to read to you all in closing. This comes from the Cambridge Companion to Homer, and it says, it's at the back if you'd like to read along. In talking about Homer, however, we do well to remember how very heterogeneous and numerous are those who wish to claim him as part of their heritage, and to bring in as many of these heirs into the conversation as we can. The demolition of intellectual boundaries, while entails many risks and terrors, also brings exhilaration, liberation, and reward. This has been an incredibly rewarding process for me, and I thank you all for being here and for supporting me throughout the last year of my endeavors. And I would like to also say a thank you to, I don't know whoever's here, to God for letting me use the Claremont United Church of Christ. And thank you all for coming. There's a section in the back, so thank you very much.